All right, serious and silliness outcast. I have a wonderful interview. The first male adult entertainer, Mr. Dick Buff. What's up, man?
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Do you mind if I call you DB? I don't know if I could call you Dick Buff for an hour.
No. DB's much better.
Okay,
Somebody
good.
came up with the name. I think they did it as a kind of joke, but it stuck. So here I am.
Okay, yeah. Because they've, every male adult entertainer has like, strange names like that or funny names like that, which is so you're just part of that group. But yeah, DB sounds good.
Yeah. That's what everybody calls me, actually. That's good.
Oh, good. So right out of the box, I'm gonna ask you, most guys like me, regular dudes. I don't know if you know anything about me. I'm a blue collar guy. I don't know if you've seen my show, but I do this at night. And during the day, I'm a sewer worker in New York City. Grew up in New York City, and I'm a sewer worker, well, underground with a bunch of, knock around guys, blue collar guys.
Right on.
Everybody thinks that doing what you do for a living is like the greatest thing anybody could ever do for a living. You just have sex with beautiful women all the time, right? Is it really that good? Or are there days where you're like, oh fuck, I gotta go to work today, just like I do?
Okay, there's not days when I'm doing the scenes that I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta go to work because those days I gotta go to work are great. Right? You
Okay.
know what I mean? That's a great day. Um,
Okay.
but the thing is that I actually, I used to frame houses. I did bricklaying. I did freaking, every single job you could probably think of that people would think of as blue collar and not the kind of job that you would normally want, right?
Right.
And so, but it's actually that kind of work ethic I learned from it that makes it so that I can do this job because I don't just perform, I produce, I light sets. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that it's not just sex and orgies all day.
Yeah.
There's other things to it for me anyway, because I've got other things that I have to do besides just sit around and get my dick sucked. So, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's actually the payoff for everything that I do. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. Okay, good.
Uh,
So there are days where you're just like me. You wake up and you go, God, shit, I gotta go to work today.
Lugging lighting equipment and things like that into hotels. It's not as fun as you might think.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not working in a sewer, brother. I feel for you. I've had
Yeah,
those
yeah.
kinds of jobs.
It's actually, listen, I wear it like a badge of honor. I'm proud to be a blue collar guy, and
Sure.
to me, blue collar guys don't get enough credit
No,
because without us, the world doesn't go around.
no,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
doesn't. But you
yeah.
get all the heat too. That's what
Oh, yeah.
sucks. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Like,
saying? Somehow your toxic masculinity or whatever. Fuck
oh,
that.
it's
Because like you
uh,
said, if it weren't for you, the world doesn't work.
yeah, it's unbelievable, right? Like you somebody takes a shit, they flush the bowl and they forget about it. Well, it's my job to get that shit somewhere.
Right, right, right.
But
And thank God for it, because otherwise we'd all be living in filth, right?
yeah,
Back in
no, absolutely. It's
medieval times.
um had like when interview female adult entertainers, their story of how they get into the business is pretty similar. If they've been in the business for, 10 plus years or so, it's usually, well, I was a dancer and then I moved to a bigger city like Las Vegas or LA and somebody approached me. Or if they're younger, it's, well, I was an Instagram model or I was a OnlyFans girl and then somebody approached me. But how does it work for a guy? How does a guy break into that industry? Because it can't be the same.
It's sheer luck. For
Okay.
me, it was sheer luck. I
All
mean,
right.
but you're talking 11 years ago. So now with OnlyFans and things like that, you can build yourself up through social media, through doing things like, OnlyFans. And but the way that I got into it was I met somebody, believe it or not, on Match.com.
Really?
Yeah. And she was interested in me, luckily for me. And we went ahead and basically I told her, hey, we can do production. I can do all the grunt work because I'm used to working for a living, and we made something together. We made a little production company, and that's what we've done.
So you literally met a girl that is in the industry on Match.com.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
It was unbelievable to me too when it happened because I thought I was being catfished because I'd been on,
Well, that's what I would think, right?
yeah, because I'd been on, dating sites for, I can't even tell you how many years, probably 4 or 5 plus years since the last girlfriend or something. And I was like, there's no way. There's no fucking way. And I didn't even have really an account on there. I wasn't paying for it because at that point I was actually sick of dating sites and sick of dating.
Yeah, they're
So I
the
actually I winked at her because I didn't even have I didn't even have a card on file. I
right.
just I winked at her and she wrote back and said, yeah, I'm so and so and I'm interested. And the way one of the things that we had in common was that both of us are in recovery. So both of us were former drug addicts. And so we bonded on that initially and over the course of our relationship.
So, and we don't have to mention names, but this is a very well-known adult entertainer.
Yeah, world famous.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
would
So,
totally think.
I mean, made the catfishing. It had to be a catfish, right? It
Yeah, well,
had.
that's I remember a friend of mine, um, and I remember the girl too. I remember a friend of mine who was on a dating site. We were working together. I'll never forget it. The guy's name is Joe, and he's like, "Yo, look at this girl. She been talking to her. She's really hot. Look at this girl." And I think it was. I'm pretty sure the adult entertainer's name was Amber Lynn. I think that's who the girl was. Okay, but I remember, beautiful blonde hair, beautiful girl, big boobs, and I was like, "Dude, that's fake. That's a porno chick. You're being catfish." She's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, definitely. Look her up." But I guess there are times where it's not the case.
Yeah, believe me, it was a fantasy come true for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I had just moved to Vegas. There was no way this was real, and I was actually kind of in a crummy job, and yeah, she snatched me up, and we made something out of it. She wanted to retire from working for companies, and so we went to town and made the most of what she had in a name. I had done marketing in the past and things like that, so I was able to help her with that. I had owned an art gallery at one point, so I understood visuals. So it
Mhm.
was just kind of like a perfect storm of two people coming together and what needed to be done at the time.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's your story, but that's one in a million or one in 10 million.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How does a regular guy, what's a regular story of a guy that goes into adult entertainment?
Um, a lot of guys will hit up other guys and say, "Hey, I'm interested in. I want to, be able to, because we're going to be a little bit more sympathetic to it. Hey, I'm interested. I've got the package. I've got that kind of thing. And company, and also you want to hit up companies. You can go to these, 101 modeling, OC modeling, things like that. These agencies that are they're always looking for talent because it's hard to work in front of a camera. A lot of guys think they can do it until it's lights, camera, action. These women have paid a lot of money for makeup. There's a lot of money in the production, and buddy, you better fucking perform.
Yeah.
That
Well,
thing better fucking not be soft
yeah,
because
here's
you're
what
doing it once.
no, you're 100%. But here's, and I've interviewed plenty of female adult entertainers, and we've actually, spoke about this in detail. But I wanted to get your perspective. 20 years ago or 30 years ago, there was only a handful of guys that could do it, and they
Right,
were like in every movie, right? And it was like maybe 5, 10 guys. They were in every movie.
right,
I interviewed Ginger Lynn, and she actually said they were like a family because it was the same people all the
right,
time that you were working with.
right.
But now, since the introduction of Viagra, Cialis, and now people have they have a trimix injection,
Mhm.
which you inject right into your penis and you can perform directly. I have to believe that that opens up the landscape to more guys being able to perform.
Yeah. The problem is, can you still do it? It's the nerves can overtake the medication.
Okay. Oh, I see. I
You
see.
because the whole point of Cialis and these other drugs, including the shot, is to
Yeah.
lower your blood pressure.
Ah.
Yeah. So if you go in there nervous, if you're not cool as a cucumber, so to speak,
Yeah.
you you are not going to be able to perform. I don't care what you put in you. You can sit there and shoot your dick 15 times. You're fucked. If
So
you
now does
can't,
that roll into other things? Like, does that roll into, okay, I took a Viagra, I'm ready to go, but I'm nervous, so let me take a Xanax so I'm calm. Does
yeah,
that?
I've actually had to do that. When I first started, I would have to do something because yeah, it lowers your blood pressure, but it doesn't calm your nerves, right? You can take a Viagra, you can take 50 Viagra. All you're
Yeah.
gonna do is pass out. I mean, it's like you got to be able to take something that's going to be able to lower your nervousness, right?
Wow. So that's interesting. So
Put you at ease.
that's amazing that, because one thing will lead into something else.
Right. And I'm not suggesting everybody just start taking Valium and Viagra
Yeah.
together. I'm just saying,
Yeah. Right.
like, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's like there are ways that I've had to do things in the past that because you got to get comfortable in front of the camera. You have to be able to understand that you're there to perform and everybody, yes, there's pressure, but at the same time, it's still a family. People are still, they want everybody to be successful in this. When you're in front of that camera, we're all looking for the scene to be completed. We all want everybody to do well. So, if you can get into that mindset, you're not going to have to do all that stuff. You can just take the Viagra, the Cialis, and I don't like Cialis because it's not really going to do what you want it to do for me anyway, because this is a 24-hour slow release kind of thing, and it's
Ah,
yeah.
you need it kind of like I need it to work
Yeah, yeah.
now. Oh,
I
I
want
see.
to
Yeah,
be
well, that
able to
makes sense.
I want to be able to hammer it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That puts down the hammer.
Right. Okay, that makes all the sense in the world. Okay. So you were saying that you were in recovery, that you were an addict at one point.
Well, my
Uh,
dog's having a sneezing attack.
that's all right. I got two dogs too. I just closed the door, otherwise they'd be in here with me too.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem. Yeah, I got a female Cane Corso and I got a male bulldog, and if I didn't have the door closed, they'd be in here with me. So it's all right. So how did that come about? How did you wind up getting into drugs, and how did you wind up self getting out? Because it's a difficult journey.
So when I was 12 years old, I started drinking. By 13, I was doing blow. By 14, I was doing meth. By 15, I was doing acid, mushrooms, and then from that point on, all of it together.
Yeah,
The only thing I never got into was heroin, thank God.
yeah.
I didn't understand the whole wanting to nod out shit. I'd rather party down. That was
Right.
my, and I did it till I was about 32, and I was a mess, and I was a fuck up, and that's why I had so many blue collar jobs. I know what a beam stretcher is. You know what I'm saying? Because I was always the new guy.
Uh,
Go get that beam stretcher. I don't know if you know what that is, but there's no such thing, and that's the
yeah.
joke.
Oh, we used to say go get a bucket of air. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we
Uh,
need a bucket of nitrogen. Go get a bucket.
uh,
Yeah, something stupid like
yes.
that. Yeah.
So it culminated in, I basically I didn't have a whole lot of schooling because I was on drugs early, and I ended up from the age of 30 to 32, I was under a bridge for 2 years in New Orleans. I was in and out of jail more times than you probably got digits. And so when I was under that bridge, I almost died 5 times. Tubes down my throat, IVs in my arm. Doctors telling me pick up again, dumbass, and you're gonna fucking die. And I decided 5 times would be good to try to test that out.
Now
And
it was an overdose, or it was other things.
Well, no, because I'm under a bridge. I'm not eating. I'm eating out of dumpsters. I'm freaking, I'm stealing liquor every day. I'm drinking 2 liters of Wild Turkey 101 a day for the last when I was underneath that bridge, that I would go and steal every day,
Wow.
allegedly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so yeah, that was so it led to me. It was 8 months to go to the hospital the first time. It was like 10 days in between the fourth and fifth visit. And that was the nightmare of it. It was, but that was the blessing of it too. The best thing that ever happened to me was I lived under a bridge for 2 years and almost died 5 times because that's what got me to be sober.
Wow.
And it was that fifth time that I finally got the message that, hey, you're not as smart as you think you are. You're not as powerful as you think you are. And that was the thing, is that so when I went into recovery, and this is what you have to do when you go into recovery, is you have to surrender. And that's where I was. I understood that I didn't know what the hell was going on and that I was going to die if I went and attempted it for a sixth time. I
Wow.
was 100% sure. And so that's what you have to be. You have to be absolutely, at rock bottom. And rock bottom is different for other people and for different people. I saw a lady, in her 60s. She started drinking kind of late in life, and she had pawned her wedding ring, and that was enough. That's all she needed was to pawn that wedding ring.
Mhm.
But for me, I had to almost die 5 times, and like seriously, almost die. I'm in an ambulance again, tubes down my throat, IVs in my arm, and yeah, it was pretty rough.
What kind of childhood was it like? I mean, because you said you started drinking at 14,
12. I was 12. When
12.
I started
So
drinking,
what?
12,
Yeah.
13 Coke, 14 meth. Um, so the childhood was my father was a kind of aircraft engineer slash entrepreneur. And I don't really know if he had an education in aircraft engineering because he worked for Boeing under an assumed name when we lived in Seattle. He was kind of a rolling stone. We moved every 3 months because he was basically kind of a con man.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't go to school. He would put me in school long enough to it put me in there long enough to make sure they didn't knock on the door.
Yeah. So very unstable. And was your
I,
mother around or no?
no, she was an alcoholic. She left when I was 2, 3 years old, something around there, and she died when I was 12 of cirrhosis of the liver.
I'm
I
sorry.
saw her once every couple of years.
Sorry to hear that, man. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know her. That's the thing. Everybody always says sorry about your mother. I didn't know her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not really a whole. It wasn't a loss. I hate to say that. I know that sounds callous, but
No, I
I
understand.
didn't
I
know
get
her.
it. Yeah. I
Feel bad
fully,
for her.
yeah. No, it's just, when I started this podcast, I've met some fantastic people, tremendous people, some of which have become really good friends. And one thing that the podcast did for me was realize, how good I really had it growing up. You think you have it rough, and then you talk to other people, and you say to yourself, "Wow, like it wasn't that bad." I had a mother, had a father, had a family. It's just things aren't always hunky dory. And
Right.
then you kind of, when I talk to people like yourself, or I don't know, I've talked to all different types of all from all walks of life, and they discuss their childhood and where they grew up and so on and so forth. You kind of understand that you did have it pretty good versus what somebody like yourself goes through, and it makes you appreciate it. But I'm definitely happy that you're clean and sober and with us, and it looks like you're a workout nut like me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No other way to be. One other thing about me growing up, one of the things that got me through it was that it was kind of like at least I wasn't my cousins because my cousins were getting molested by my uncle.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So when you sit there and say, hey, and then I came from like my aunt actually used to drop her daughter off to my uncle so that she could go party and knew that when my uncle was molesting her. I mean, so it's like my dad kept me away from that at least.
Right.
And so at least I wasn't in that. And that's kind of like one of the things that at least I wasn't my cousins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, you were talking about working out. Yeah.
Yeah, did that replace the high? Because I know for me it does. The reason why I was like 5 minutes late was because I was rushing from the gym.
Right, 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 right. No, I try and work out as much as possible. It makes me feel good.
Yeah,
It definitely is. It's a high, and it's something that it's a good thing to be addicted to, right? I mean, I'd rather
yeah,
be addicted to being healthy than be
right.
addicted to killing myself.
Yeah, there's a difference. Not every addiction is a bad addiction,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And a lot of times people try to justify it. Well, you're addicted to the weights. I'm like, yeah, but I never broke into somebody's house to grab a pair of dumbbells, right? It
Right.
doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? It's like, but so now you're in recovery. How many times did you have to go in and out of recovery, or it was just one and done?
Well, no, I mean after I almost died for the fifth time, I was, they put me in the hospital, and then when you we come out of the hospital that you're in there and they're kind of detoxing you, and you have people come in and they'll do meetings in the hospital. And, when I'm in the hospital, I'm like, I'm fine. I'll be all right. I don't need all that stuff. So, I
Hmm.
mean, that was actually part of it. And I'd walk out of that hospital and I'd swear that I was done. But without the recovery, I would walk out of that hospital without the tools that you find in recovery, without these, which is basically bringing you to a power greater than yourself and relying on that instead of yourself.
Hmm.
I would walk out of that hospital and go straight to a liquor store.
No.
And the funny thing about being in that hospital, I was such a con, I took after my father, that I was in places that were locked down, like psych ward type things.
Hmm.
And you can't have any money in there, but somehow I'd walk out of there with money because I'd talk somebody into giving me money somehow. So I
Right.
was just walking straight, and I'd be like, "Oh, I need to get a place," and all this bullshit. And I'd walk straight to a liquor store.
Right.
And I mean, just literally out, because I'm in New Orleans too. So I would walk out of the hospital and there's a daiquiri shop or there's a liquor store right there. So,
How'd you wind up from Seattle to New Orleans?
oh no, we moved around like every three
Uh,
months. I lived all over the country. I used to live in Long Island,
oh, really?
yeah, Salt Lake City, mostly California because my dad, he liked the weather. We lived in Las Vegas for a little while when I was a kid. So my old man could count a shoe too. That was the bad thing. I don't know if you know anything about blackjack, but a shoe is like 5 to 6 decks. He could count cards.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he was brilliant. He was a genius. The
Yeah.
problem is he just used it for, and he was a drunk. He was an alcoholic too, but he was a functioning alcoholic,
Right. Right.
right? And so whenever he ran out of money, we just head to Vegas. We go to the casinos. I remember one time, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. He comes upstairs with about, $60,000 in chips. And about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, he comes back up and he's escorted by pit bosses. And the thing is that he had to explain it. And this is back in the day when they used to beat your ass for counting cards, but he had to explain to them, "Hey,
I
I've
was
got
gonna
a
say,
kid with me."
what year was that? Because
I don't want to age myself, bro. That's
uh,
let's okay. It was 80s.
yeah, that's when that the Boy Scouts were not running the casinos back then.
Dude. No, bro.
Yeah.
So he had to come up and show them me so that he didn't get his ass beat, right?
Yeah.
And he used to change his appearance, change his name all the time whenever we go to Vegas because he get blackballed from these fucking casinos because he could count a shoe. So anyway, he'd come up with another 30,000 in chips. We'd come out with $100,000, and back then that's a lot of money. And he'd go start a company, and we'd do well. And I mean, we'd literally have condos on the beach, and then the next minute we're in California, and the next minute we're in Reno, in somebody's basement, eating beans and tomatoes out of a can.
Wow.
Seriously. So it was. But here's the thing. Here's the beauty of that in my life, and that was that taught me tomorrow's another day. And that's what saved me when I was underneath that bridge. When I was underneath that bridge, I never lost hope because I understood tomorrow's another day. As bleak as it may seem, as much as I'm sitting there eating beans and tomatoes out of a can today,
Mhm.
tomorrow's another fucking day. And I'm going to come out on top. And that's the way it's always been. And that's the way you got to look at it, right? You
Right.
can't sit there and think that today, the shitty thing that's happened to you is permanent because it's not. It's
Mm.
not. If you understand that it's not permanent, it's not permanent,
Right.
right?
Well, that's a fascinating story, DB. I mean, really. Yeah.
Been an interesting life. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. It is. It is very interesting. Um, and obviously, like you said, it did you some good. Because at least you learned some good life lessons through it, right?
Right. That's how God works. The things that you think are terrible are actually there to make your life better.
Yeah. Right. 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 Exactly. So, so you after you get out of rehab, and how long are you clean and sober now for?
So I did a 1 year rehab. It was crazy because it was a 1 year residential, which really doesn't exist anymore.
Mhm.
Again, real blessing. And so now I've got about 22 years.
22. Oh, good. That's great. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. All right. So so you get out of rehab, and what are you doing to make money? Still doing blue collar jobs or
I actually, when I was in rehab, I'm in New Orleans. I met a guy at a meeting that worked in fine art galleries.
Okay.
And I asked him, I said, because I don't know what I'm going to do because I bartended before that, right? And I'm like, I
Mhm.
can't go back to bartending.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know, I can't be around alcohol. I can't be around these people. And construction was another thing that was bad for me because back then everybody that was in construction or any kind of service industry was all getting loaded.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
So I didn't
believe
know
me,
what
I
the
know.
hell I was
Yeah.
going to do,
Yeah.
right? It's not like that anymore. I mean, like
Right.
there's legit straight people, but back then it was a lot of people were getting loaded in those
Oh, plenty of
industries.
guys were drinking on the job and,
Oh
doing drugs on
yes.
the job. Oh, absolutely. Especially in the
Oh, we were
80s
just
and 90s.
all
Yeah.
day in the morning. Just
What's funny is that I was working as an electrician's apprentice before I got the job with the New York City in the sewer. I was an electrician for 10 years. And I remember I was working for this company and so we didn't get along with the Masons. And we needed to because we had to work with them, but they did not like us at all. And then finally, the foreman pulls up one day and opens up his trunk, and there's like 3 cases of beer. And after that, they were our best friends.
yeah, yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
So you start working for this art gallery.
Yeah, so basically I asked him, so what kind of education do you have to have? Because, I got to do something.
Right.
And he's like, you don't have to have an education. I've heard you talk. And all it is sales. And so I went and met the owner of a major company that was on Royal Street in the French Quarter. He'd actually been sober for a little over 20 years. He did 3 interviews with me, and he picked me up and decided to, take me on. And the family that owned what 5, 6 galleries on Royal Street in the quarter. They had been around since over 100 years,
Wow.
and so they taught me the business inside and out. And then Katrina hits.
Oh,
Yeah. So and I'm graduating from the house. I'm almost on a year from this in the rehab, and so I ended up evacuating to Alabama of all places,
okay.
and Tuscaloosa, Alabama, because we had actually when Katrina hit, a lot of people are like, "Well, how come nobody evacuated?" Well, we just got hit with a one that veered off and missed us, and when you evacuate, you lose about 10 days.
Mm,
So, we'd already heard, The Boy Who Cried Wolf already, and nobody wanted to have to do it again.
mhm.
And so a lot of people didn't go because we had just done it. And so that's why, but, I'm from Southern California. If you get a warning on a natural disaster, you leave because earthquakes don't give you a warning.
Yeah,
So,
right, right, right. Good
right.
point. Yeah.
So I left, and it was they're sending you to get about 5 hours away. And my assistant in the gallery, because I was actually the director of the gallery, had said that she went to University of Alabama, which is in Tuscaloosa, which is about 5 hours away. So that's where we went, and that's where I stayed for God, what, about 8, 9 years.
Wow. Okay.
And the funny thing is I ran into a guy who had an art gallery there, and I went in there in my New Orleans style Armani suit, and in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Roll Tide, and he looked at me like, "What the hell?"
Who
And
the hell is this guy?
this guy. And but the training I had received from that family taught me how to sell art. And I within the first week I sold the most expensive piece in the gallery. So he was like, "Ooh, there's something here," and we were able to actually do quite well. We opened a new gallery in Birmingham, 7,000 square feet. We used to do weddings, events and things like that. And we put a stage in, bars, and all that kind of stuff. So it was actually it worked out. Again, those things that you think are terrible, like Hurricane Katrina. What are you going to do? And then you fight through it. You understand tomorrow's another day, and
Right.
life is good.
So how'd you go from the art gallery to the adult entertainment? I know you met somebody on Match and introduced you, but did you just to say, "Oh, you know what? I'm not doing the art gallery thing anymore. I'm done."
So what happened was that I was in Birmingham, Alabama. We had just opened in about 2007, and that's when the first financial hiccup hit. And back then, when everything kind of came crashing down,
Yeah.
and so my clients who are usually upper middle class and have disposable income
Mm,
disappeared.
mm,
And so this art gallery that we had put together with the money that we had been making, because we were doing so well in a space that was maybe about 1,400 square feet. We were doing over $1 million a year in this place in Tuscaloosa, right?
Hmm.
with the training that I had. Also, the guy that I met, his mother-in-law owned the largest stable of portrait artists in the world. And so we had this incredible art in this little space with people that you would come in for the games and stuff like that because people like to buy when they're traveling.
Right.
And so anyway, I when that collapsed in Birmingham, I was tired of living in Alabama, and I was actually just tired of living in the South because it's kind of like I had to wear a white T-shirt underneath my polo shirt because what do you think, you're a gigolo?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I moved back out to California, and that was a nightmare because it was like I came from this uber conservative to uber liberal kind of situation, and it was just it was culture shock for me, but also the money wasn't there. Like the to me, they just couldn't. There just wasn't money. So I came out to Vegas about 2 years after that, and that's when I met the person we're talking about on Match.com.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, I just moved here.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so let's get into uh your business as of late. Um, I'm just gonna ask you some fun questions and then we'll get into the producing and so on and so forth. And like I said, when guys like me or young guys or whoever put on adult entertainment, and they want to have a wank, uh, the girls in the scenes always look so willing, right? They're always, so willing. Have have you been involved where the girls get catty, they get angry, they try to sabotage it, they are passively aggressive, insulting, and like typical toxic women behavior. Does that go on, or is it just like we only deal with professional people and you have to get out, or is this person a name and we got to deal with this shit?
Yeah, no, there's girls in the business that are, and I haven't worked with everybody, but I've worked with a couple. There's girls that can be catty. There's girls that can get jealous. People that you would think wouldn't get jealous, start getting jealous of other girls. And it's, some girls aren't really there to have sex. They're more performative, pretending, and it is a performance in a way because and especially when you're running cameras and you don't have a cameraman and things like that, you're looking at monitors because I'll be running multiple cameras with monitors and things like that if I don't have a cameraman going. And you have to make sure that, you're showing penetration and you're not really in a comfortable position. It's
Right.
not like you're having sex with your girlfriend or your wife. You're in strange positions, your head's cocked a certain way so that you don't block the camera, things like that. You never want to block. But yeah, some girls aren't there to actually to have sex. They're there to look like they're having sex. Now those scenes aren't as, needless to say, not as much fun, but also not as good. The final result just doesn't come out the same. And you can kind of tell if you're looking. It's like, I had one girl. She's like, I'm supposed to be eating her pussy, and it's just kind of there.
There's blanks. Yeah.
It's like,
There's blank
like
space.
put the motherfucker right there so I can freaking do what I'm supposed to do. It
Oh, I see what you're
doesn't
saying.
even look
Okay.
like anything.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
edit too. So I'm sitting there looking at it going, well, that's out. We're not
Yeah.
using that.
Right, right,
It's
right,
just,
right.
yeah. And as far as caddy, um, you know, that's some girls are, some girls don't like other girls. So that's
Yeah.
all you can do.
But the reason why I ask you these questions is because, in my experience on the podcast, the large majority of girls that I've interviewed that are in sex work in some way, shape, or form, not the ones that have embraced it and been doing it for 10 or 20 years. And this is, not those, but usually the younger ones, they're very
Angry?
sporadic. They're very unreliable. They're very toxic. They're very, like I said, catty.
Right.
Um, do you have to when you work with a younger girl? Did you experience, or any girl at that point, at that matter? Do you experience that often? Is that
No,
something you have to work around?
from time to time, but really the girls that are professional, and I don't want to give you the impression that there's like a lot of girls out there that aren't professional. There are girls that you have to deal with, because maybe they do a few more drugs and they've got a name and they're young, like you said. But yeah, the girls that understand what this business is, and it is a business, especially with OnlyFans and the kind of money that we're talking about, it's a
Right.
business. And if you're smart, you'll act like it's a business. And if you know how to act like it's a business, you're going to be successful. Cream rises to the top. And
Right.
the people that don't view this as a business and don't treat it like a business don't last.
I see. So is it like kind of like Hollywood where word gets around? Like, remember
Oh
when
yeah.
like Ed Norton was like the big star in Hollywood, and then
Oh
word got
yeah.
around that he was just terrible to work for, and then he just
Ah,
disappeared because nobody wanted to hire him? Is it? It's the same kind of thing. Like, hey, this girl looks great. Everybody wants to watch her, but she's not reliable. She doesn't show up. She's high. She's just no, not good on camera. And then
ah.
people just stop working with her. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean that's I know of
Excuse
a
me.
couple of girls that are like that. And so what they do is they have specific people that will put up with them, specific people that can handle the deal. And everybody understands it. And they kind of, I think they're more comfortable like that. I can't speak for them,
Hmm.
100%, but it seems to me they're more comfortable with that. And again, with OnlyFans, it allows them to do that because, you can have this big fan base. You don't have to shoot for these companies anymore.
Right.
And that's the thing is that there are girls out there that have that reputation. Hey, she's not going to show up when she says she's going to because she's a prima donna. Hey, she's going to not work the way that you would like her to work because she's a prima donna, but she has a big enough name that she can get away with it. And with
I see.
fans, it allows for that.
Yeah. Now, is that something that you would tolerate or no?
I don't have to.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have to. It's not something that there's too many girls out there that understand that this is a business now. That what's the point? You
Right.
know what I mean? If you're not if because the amount of money and effort that goes into production, it doesn't make sense for me to work with somebody that's not going to show up, that's not going to give a good performance. It's a one and done kind of thing,
Right.
fool me once kind of thing.
Yeah. No. It only makes sense, right? And of course, I would assume that if you do try to talk to that person, right, and say, "Hey, look, you could really be a big star in this world." Yeah, it's like going in one ear and out the other. It's like,
Oh, they're already a big star in their head. You
yeah, it's
what I'm
your
saying?
fault. It's the cameraman's fault. It's this
Yes,
person's fault.
yes,
Right? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Those are the
Yeah.
narcissists. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I've noticed about women is that all women operate the same way, but they're on a spectrum, and some of them are just worse than others.
Oh, you get me in trouble here, bro. You get me in trouble.
That's all right. I'll take the heat. Don't worry about it. I'll take the heat. Um, how prevalent is drugs and alcohol and partying in that life? Because a lot of us have watched things like Boogie Nights, and the old school way was, oh, it was a family. It was, and even interviewing Ginger Lynn, she's like, in the 70s and 80s, we partied together, we lived together, we did everything together. Is that life still party central, or is it just like it is business and everybody goes home?
It's individual. I've been on set with girls that don't party well. You're doing multiple girls, and some of them are in the bathroom. I mean, literally in the middle of the scene, like you're just sitting there waiting because the director says cut, and you're waiting because they got to run to the bathroom, and they'll be a minute. And we all know what they're doing.
Ah, I
It
see.
doesn't take that long to pee. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, they've got to do what they've got to do. But really, yeah, it's not party central. It's not everybody sitting around getting high all day. There's too much money in it now.
Yeah.
And
So it's not like the 70s or 80s, like that life
no,
is over. Yeah.
no, 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 no. It's not orange couches and orgies.
Right. Okay, so that is over. But what's funny is that it seems that way in every industry. Like it seems like it was so much more fun in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And now people just in every industry just do their job and go home, and they're on their phone or something like that. They're not out socializing. And so I mean, in every industry that I could think of, even mine, blue collar guys used to on Fridays go to the strip club before they went home. Now
Right.
it's like pulling teeth to get guys to go to the club.
Right,
It's
right, right,
pulling to no, I got to go home. I got to take my son to soccer tomorrow morning, and
right,
that kind of thing. Where years ago it was just, yeah, let's go. Yeah, it
right.
was a given that you
And
went right after
uh,
work. But that seems to be cross culture and cross industry.
I think it's actually a different generation that doesn't party as much. And we
Yeah.
still socialize with, especially being here in Vegas, there's a lot of great restaurants. So
Mm,
we'll go out to eat and, people will have a couple drinks, but nobody's, it's not, hey, at least and don't get me wrong, there's girls and there's a whole, you know, part of the industry that still goes out into the clubs, still goes and parties and all that stuff. I don't want to name names. There's people out there that, they get loaded and they
right.
love getting loaded all day, every day, and they're constantly partying and stuff like that, and they can
Right.
afford to. And that's great. But this generation, for the most part, understands this is a business, and it's business first, and but also, part of the business is showing the party.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Especially with social media now.
Right.
People want to think that you're out there having a good time, and they'll go out and have a good time, but at the same time, it's not quite like it used to, like not like what you're talking. If we had social media back in the day that you're talking about,
Oh, maybe we'd all be in jail.
oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, forget it. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Yeah.
And I
Here's
know
the,
they think they party, but they don't understand what it was like.
no,
And
it
it was
was,
crazy.
I'm actually I will be 49 years old next week.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm 49 years old, and it's my generation to this generation is so different in every aspect, in community, in go socializing, it's unbelievable. But
yeah.
here's an interesting question that I never, because you're an honest dude, so I wanted to ask you this because a
So
lot of
they tell
times
me.
what happened?
I said, so they tell me.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of times when I ask the girls, they don't really want to step on anybody's toes or so on and so forth. Some of them are very honest, some of them are whatever. I've noticed that with women, they're very trendy. Like they want to follow the trend, no matter what it is, right? Even their body type. So like when we were growing up, in the 80s and 90s, every girl wanted big boobs. They all wanted big boobs and they wanted big boob, right? They didn't care about their butts and they all wanted big boobs. Now it's kind of the opposite. Every girl, I guess, because of Kim Kardashian, wants a huge butt and no boobs. When you go to the gym and you see the girls in the yoga pants that some of them have butts huge, and you could tell that it's a peep. Have you ever ran into a girl that had like fantastic natural boobs and people watched her because she has these fantastic natural boobs, but she decided, oh, you know what? I'm just going to follow the trend and I'm going to get a reduction and get a BBL. And you're like, what did you do? What the fuck did you do?
I haven't run into that personally. I understand what you're saying about and about the big butt. And I'll tell you that because you're talking about the Robert Plant or what was it, Robert Palmer. You know what I'm talking about, the where the girls, I had it was a long ass, not a big ass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm talking about?
I
And
think
so
so.
the big ass, I've always liked, even when I was younger. I
Right.
like bigger women, and so
Oh,
I
I'm
would
the
never.
same way. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, all these girls thought that they had to starve themselves and have that kind of oh God, what was that girl on Baywatch? What the hell's her name?
Pam Anderson.
Pam Anderson. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They all had to be super, super skinny, like the hip showing,
Right, right,
it,
right, right.
with a nice rack, but no real bottom and stuff like that. And that's not fun, especially if you got anything downstairs, bro, as a man.
Yeah.
It ain't no fun, dude. I'll stop it hurts isn't fun, bro, because that's why I like bigger women. I want somebody
No,
that's gonna be
I
able to
agree. I
take.
agree. I agree fully. Right. I'm a person that I'm into curves, curvy women, and so on and so forth. But you've never witnessed somebody that made their career on that, like because I have girls in my head I'm thinking of right now where it made their career on because they have these amazing boobs, and then all of a sudden they decide, no, I'm getting rid of them, and it's like, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do?
Well, I would wonder if that's actually them following a trend, or maybe they had some issues with their implants. Because a lot of girls, when you go into getting much larger breasts. And I've been through, with somebody close to me. I went through a lot of surgeries with somebody, and it can be quite a bit to have to go through that. And so I think that probably what you're witnessing is that they just have probably bad experiences with surgeries,
Yeah.
and said, hey, you know what? If I can get away with the butt and I don't have to worry about because the butt's easy, and I don't mean like easy as in it's no big deal, but comparatively to the boobs,
Yeah.
butts are injections, or maybe
Yeah.
an implant, which isn't really as good, but injections have been around in South America for 20, 25 years, something
Yeah.
like that.
Forever. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like it's a much easier process to go through. And again, it's not simple, but comparatively to the breasts, it's
I
much
see.
easier because the implants can rupture. You can run into all these problems,
Okay.
and I don't really blame them at some point that they're done.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just a boob guy and I'm mad when girls
No,
get
I am too. Exactly. It's like, what'd you do?
you
Yeah,
piss
no,
me off. Yeah, right.
yeah, yeah.
There's this one young model, and she had these great natural boobs, and
Oh,
I can't remember her name. You
no, I
know,
haven't
I'll
seen that.
I'll wind
I've
up
never
thinking,
seen anybody get a reduction of natural big breath. Well,
yeah.
okay, but here's the thing. Also, so that brings up a different thing is what I've witnessed is that people will give girls bad advice.
Oh, especially other girls.
Yeah, well, no, no, no. Like I actually know somebody that had an agent that said, "Hey, your boobs are too big. You need to have them reduced." And it was her biggest regret. It was her biggest
Right.
regret because freaking, she just had complications from that point on. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it's like you can get bad advice from people who are in the industry. I don't know if the guy was drunk or what the fucking problem was,
Yeah.
right? Sitting there telling her, the worst thing that she could have been told. Believe me, she told me over the years, "Hey, I really regretted having this, that I got them reduced because of what this person told me."
Right. Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I've run into that.
Yeah.
I don't know that, I don't know anybody that said, "Hey, I want to take my boobs down and I'm just gonna, for no reason."
Yeah. This one particular, I can't remember her name, but with this one particular adult entertainer, she had these great, fantastic natural boobs. They were big, they were beautiful, it was amazing. And then, she disappeared for a little while, right? She comes back and you could tell that she had some kind of BBL and her boobs were reduced and lifted. And I'm like, okay, great. Now you look like everybody else. Great.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Well, so I'll tell you the reason this agent told this performer that she needed to reduce her boobs was so that she would get more work.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, no,
And I mean, to you and I, that doesn't jive.
yeah,
But okay, so you got to understand, like the top girls on OnlyFans, they look like little girls.
yeah. No, it's
They don't look like
actually, yeah.
women.
I don't know if you saw the numbers that have come out, but then
Yes,
there is, yeah, I think it's 1.9 million girls are on OnlyFans, and between 18 and 25, it's 1.4 million of those girls, and those
because
are the.
they,
Say that again.
because they can make a living. Because
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about the pedo thing for real. I don't know if I can say that, but freaking, I mean, it seems like a lot of guys don't like women. They like
I
girls.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. It is it is strange to me when I see a guy who likes a very, very skinny young girl. It's like that doesn't look like a woman to me.
It's almost a boy.
Yeah, right, 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 right. Thank you.
I mean, to
Thank you.
me, I mean,
Yeah, no,
I mean, and you know what? There's an ass for every seat. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's
right.
got a different face. But to me, you're talking about that looks like if it wasn't,
Yeah, you like it
you know
looks
what
like
I'm
a
saying?
7-year-old boy. I
Yeah.
agree. Like, and I believe me, and I know there are guys, out there that, listen, you like what you like. I get it as long as you don't go underage, that's a whole other story. But to me, I like a woman to look like a woman. I like curves. I like a woman that, is
Right.
confident, that dresses the part, whatever. It's
Right. No,
unbelievable.
I mean, like I'm with you. I want somebody that's built like a brick fucking shit house.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think
You know
we
what I'm
have both
saying?
have absolutely. Yeah, it's unreal. So going into the production side, I'm sure that you've started performing. what kind of transition is it from going from just performing to the production side? Because it's got to
So it
be a
actually
tremendous transition. It has to be a lot more work.
it was actually the opposite for me. I
Really?
did I did production first, and that I was never in front of the camera. And then so that we could have a dick in the scenes, because the person that I was with was there was a clamoring for her to have a dick in the scene. So that's what I started doing. And it was always stunt dick, never my face, mostly POV. So I was always doing production ahead of that. So for me, it was a different kind of transition. And it was harder for me to get in front of the camera than it was to be behind the camera because I was more comfortable, because I learned how to do lighting. I learned how to do camera work. I learned how to, and lighting and doing sets is actually very difficult work. It's not what people think it is. It's, learning how to get this thing behind me and make it look right while I'm still lit is
Right.
actually something of an art form, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm talking about the people that do this in the business, that are very talented, that don't get a lot of credit.
Right.
To be able to do setting and lighting and things like that, the reason that you can see what you're seeing on camera is because of those people.
Okay. What does what does a male performer get paid these days?
You know what? That's a good question because I never worked for large companies. I've always worked for myself. So, I've heard anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 a scene, but that might be a little high. But average is probably about 1,000, 1,200, something like that. I've heard as little as 4 to 500 actually, if you're not a name.
Right. And what about as far as women go?
I've heard women getting as much as 3,000, $4,000 a scene.
Okay. It was one girl that I interviewed, who's a relatively well known, and she said she said it was anywhere from 600 to 2,000, depending on where she was, who she was shooting with, so on and so forth. But
Yeah. No, I know a girl actually who's asking for $3,000 a scene these days, and and she's unique. She has like what you and I like, extremely large rack. So
right, right, right. Now, do most of the production companies do they go because let's face it, right? You know, new face, new body. That's going to pull in probably some new viewers and whatnot, or older viewers that just want something new. Do they pay that kind of money, or are they just like, hey, if we kind of try and reach out to these girls on like Instagram models or OnlyFans, maybe we can get somebody who is as attractive and willing to do the work for less money. Does that happen?
again, I don't really know how to speak to that. I do know that because of score, because a lot of the girls I work with are larger breasted,
Hmm.
bigger breasts.
My kind of guy.
So so I've had some interactions with score in the past, and they'll pay the extra money because the thing about something like that, it's unique. You can look on score.com and you'll see, videos from 20, 30 years ago at the top of their website because this stuff is evergreen. It's always going to sell because it's unique, right? And that's kind of the whole point of doing something like that.
I see.
Uh, but again, these girls but that's a niche. Most guys aren't into that. What you and I like, most guys aren't into. And so it's not really something that, the fact that you can perform in front of a camera, it's not just the guys, it's the women. And, if they can perform in front of the camera, they're going to get paid.
I see. Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah, it's not as simple as guys like myself make it seem to, think it is. It's clearly a lot more in depth and a lot more goes into this than just hey, let's shoot a movie and make $1 million. No, it doesn't really work that way. It is
With OnlyFans, it can. You just gotta. And here's the key to that these days is social media. If
Mhm.
you can get strong social media presence, you can do just iPhone.
Right.
I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
or a GoPro.
Yeah.
And you got somebody that, because the majority of guys like women that are just kind of average looking. And, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, average looking to you and I. To
No.
them,
Yeah. I get
these
it.
are really beautiful women, and they're happy to pay to do faces and all that stuff. And POV and kind of amateur stuff is really taken off in the last few years.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. especially when you do all the production work, you're like, damn, I didn't really need to do all that,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. Well,
But
it's
it's
I
a need.
think guys generally are reality based. So, like, for example, like if I watch a movie and I know the movie is a movie, I
Right,
need some reality in my fantasy. So if I watch a movie and something happens where I'm like, that would never happen in a million years, I can't watch the movie,
right.
right?
Or to
So
suspend reality
yeah, right.
sometimes.
Yeah. Even if it's like Star Wars, right?
Right,
Literally, right?
right.
And I think that's what happens. I think guys instinctively go, oh, well, that girl would be the type of girl I would probably, try to talk to at the bar or try to date and so on and so forth, right? And I kind of, and I kind of find myself doing that. Like if a girl is too perfect and the body is too perfect, and the face is too perfect, I'll skip it. I'll go on to the big tits and the pimple on the ass because that's real to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, and that's the thing is those girls are actually the loneliest out of all of them
Oh, wow.
because of what you're saying. Most guys, they don't have the confidence to think that they're good enough for that girl. So that and that girl doesn't get a whole lot of dates. That's how I met the person I'm talking about on Match.com.
Mm,
She was desperate to get a date because she's so beautiful,
wow.
right? She could not get a date because guys wouldn't come up to her, guys wouldn't approach her, and then if they did, they were the wrong kind of guy for her.
Right, 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 right,
You know
right.
what I'm saying? So it's like, and what I would say to guys about that stuff is that the worst thing you're going to hear is no, and you're going to walk out without them. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Well, you're already without them,
what's funny is that our generation is used to that.
right?
We didn't
Yes.
have social media to
Right.
figure out if a girl had a boyfriend or not, or
Right.
we had to walk up to the girl
Right.
and you learned to get shot down. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
inevitable. It was
Yeah.
that was it. You you
Yeah.
you you either learned or you went home with your putts in your hand. That was
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was it.
Jerking off gets old, bro.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, no, it's the God's on it. I can't tell you how many times, me and my friends were at the club when I was a kid in the 90s, and I would some girls just like the attention, the idea that a guy is interested, and they like the idea of saying no, right?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times, especially growing up in New York with the attitude. Oh my God, Italian girls from Brooklyn and Staten Island, put a
Love it.
38 to the roof of your mouth. Forget it. So,
Yeah, but I love Long Island girls, especially, dude.
so
Like,
yeah.
yeah, okay, those are the most advanced girls you've ever met.
What do you mean by advanced?
Easy.
Oh, it's funny. I never partied in Long Island because I lived in Brooklyn and in Staten Island. That's funny.
They love to fuck, bro. They love to fuck. I'm gonna get in trouble with that one, huh? Long
That's
Island,
it.
yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Uh,
I'll take all the heat. It's all right. I'll just tell you, it was my idea. Um, I want to ask you some fun questions. What was the most, did you ever have a time where you were supposed to perform and you just fucking couldn't?
yes.
What was that like? That'd be terrible, especially with money on the line.
It was my money.
That
You
would,
understand what I'm saying? So it was like, and so what you have is what you'll have, especially with multiple girls, and this is why you do multiple girls, is that if anything goes wrong, and I've had it happen one time,
mhm.
but if anything goes wrong, you've got a girl scene at least.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened on set? Whether it was a girl doing it, yourself, whatever.
Huh. Trying to think. I guess other than that, nothing really. I mean, it's a little embarrassing when you don't perform, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
actually, but it was good because it motivated me to up my game.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you never had a girl like I don't know. You're doing anal and then all of a sudden she just shits everywhere.
Never had that happen to me. The only thing I could say was embarrassing, maybe for somebody else, was they weren't able to quite take it as much as they thought they could. And maybe, and look, we can get around that because editing is an amazing thing,
Right,
but
right.
they weren't able to kind of take the dick quite as you. They're only tip fucking. You know
Ah,
what I'm saying? Just
they
they're only taking about that much, and that's about all they can do.
yeah,
So,
they could
yeah,
talk the talk, they can't walk the walk.
not every girl is a what is it? a big cock connoisseur, so to speak.
A size queen, a size.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Um, did you ever have a girl just quit, walk out in the middle of a set? So I can't do this.
No,
Never, never. Did you ever have to fire somebody? Like, just get the fuck out.
no.
Really?
We have had girls not show up. We had one girl in a big name, 5 minutes before they were supposed to be there, go text and be like, "Yeah, this just doesn't feel right. I'm not going to be there." And
Wow.
it's like, I mean, it happens, and we're not the only people that it's happened to. That's actually the name of the game, is that it doesn't matter how big the name is, it doesn't matter who you're talking about. You're going to have girls that do not, for whatever reason, they don't show up. And
Right.
actually, we had that happen a couple times. We had one girl actually; it happened 3 times.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, because you're like you buy the excuse,
Yeah.
the excuse, and it's a big enough name that you're willing to okay, well, that's believable, it's plausible, that may have happened,
Right.
right?
After the
and
third time, are you like, okay, this is
and we had shot with her before, and it was only a girl, and it was just like yeah, I guess we're not shooting. I don't know why you told us yes these 3 other times, but thanks for not showing up.
well, yeah, really. What's the limit for you? What is something that you will not do on camera? Like
Gay.
any kind of fetish stuff, anything like that.
Gay.
Gay, you won't do gay. Okay, yeah.
No.
But
and
what?
that, and that's or anal play or anything. I'm not sticking anything in my
Yeah,
ass.
yeah,
Some
yeah.
guys are down with that. They got their OnlyFans, and they'll do some anal play on their OnlyFans, but they don't do it in front of the camera for freaking production companies. But that's not me.
You know what? I think if you
Not
lived
my
near
thing.
me, you and I would be good friends because we
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
lot in common. We,
yes, yes. No gay. And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
cool
yeah,
if that's your thing, bro. But it's
yeah.
just not for me.
No,
If
me
that's what
neither.
gets you off, I always say, whatever floats your boat, don't think I'm sailing with you.
Right. Yeah, that's actually good. I'm stealing that one.
Yeah.
But what about any kind of fetish stuff? Like I've interviewed one girl that was into ball busting, where she would just kick a guy in the balls, or
Yeah, I'm not down with that either.
yeah,
The heels but again, you got to understand that the editing, and some guys are into it. They want you to really freaking kick them in the nuts, and I don't get that, but that's their thing. Small penis humiliation, I don't have to worry about that, but some guys really love to hear about how tiny their dick is compared to there's guys out there that one of the craziest things that when I first got in the business was the amount of guys that wanted to share a dick,
what?
especially a BBC. They want to get down on their knees next to the girl and suck a black dick.
Oh, dear God, man, why? Of all of, like, do you need some mental help? Like, that's
That's
not,
their thing. Bro, everybody's got a different thing. And the other thing
yeah,
that blew my mind was mom.
yeah, yeah.
Mom. I don't understand that. And maybe, I don't know. I don't get it. One of the things that I'll
Well,
never forget is that I saw a picture sent to a girl that I was working with, and it was a picture of his mom up she was standing on a stool, reaching up to get something off the top shelf, and the crack of her ass was showing. And the guy had taken a picture of her crack of her ass and sent it to this girl I'm talking about and said, "I think my mom's flirting with me."
oh, what did you say? Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, your mom's not flirting with you, you lunatic. Yeah, and if she is, you better leave that house. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Well, no, he was evidently having a good time, so he
Oh,
wasn't going anywhere. It was like,
oh,
I don't get being attracted to your mother, but I guess that's kind of maybe that has something to do with the fatherless home thing that everybody's going through these days in this generation.
yeah, right, right,
And
right.
and you see your mother out all the time, and she's dressed scantily clad, and she's out doing this, that, and the other. I don't know.
No.
Maybe that's the deal. But yeah, those two things were shocking to me when I first got into the industry about 10, and it's been going on 10, 11 years. So
Jesus, I tell you, I'm boring. I used to think I was a freak till I started this podcast, and I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, no, I'm not a freak. I'm
Uh,
a, I'm boring. I'm boring as fuck.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if there's anything that, yeah, the ball busting, no. The gay, not into. The ass play, I'm not into. Now, don't get me wrong. Somebody actually talked me into, you know what a rusty trombone is?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's they're jacking your dick while they're licking your ass. I actually just
Yeah.
did a video. I got one out on my OnlyFans right now. Um, onlyfans.com /daddy dick buff.
Daddy Dick.
Uh,
I will be skipping that,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
but
so she's licking my ass and she's jacking my,
yeah, yeah,
and I mean, it was surprisingly enjoyable.
really, yeah.
Because to me, yeah. And the other thing I actually started getting into was licking asshole myself, a woman's ass.
Okay. Well, that's yeah. I mean, that's okay. Yeah, I've done that. That's not a big deal. The rusty trombone thing. I don't think I've see to regular people,
You haven't.
all those things are just funny stuff. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
the rusty trombone. Then there is the Spider-Man. I don't know if you ever heard of the Spider-Man.
Remind me. I've heard it. I
That's
don't
when you
remember.
come in your hand and then you fling it on the girl's face like it's like a web. The Darth Vader, you come in her nose and then she has to breathe through her mouth, so she sounds like Darth Vader. These are all like the chicken cutlet. You screw it on the beach and then you take your dick out, you put it in the sand, and then you put it back in.
Yeah,
These
yeah, yeah.
these things are just like funny shit that blue collar guys talk about that they don't ever do. But in your case, evidently, you've done this shit.
Uh, uh, hey, you got to look. I can't tell you everything I've done, but yeah, there's people out there that will pay money for a lot of different things, bro.
Yeah, it's so funny. I actually
There's guys that want to be peed on. There's guys that want to play with feces. There's guys that freaking. I mean, seriously,
yeah.
I was told a story about how this guy wanted this girl escorted, and she would take the dildo, stick it up his ass, but his ass had to be dirty. And when she would pull it out, he wanted to lick it off.
Oh,
And she,
dear God, man.
and the
Oh,
problem was is that she would sit there and be like, because her reaction, her natural instinct was to wipe the dildo off. And she
right.
kept doing it, and he kept yelling at her, and she had
Oh,
to get it through her head that, hey, this guy's just having a good time, and this is what he's into. And finally, she kind of got into it with him, not licking it herself, but allowing him to do it and understanding that, hey, this is what he's into. So
how did she not throw up? I gag watching Jackass.
he's a pro.
Oh man, it's unbelievable. Now, is there a big market for that?
He's shocked,
So
or
does
maybe not.
somebody get paid extra to do that shit?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Fetish stuff like that, and like you said, how did she not throw up? She's a pro.
Yeah.
Okay, these girls are professionals. This is a job. It's not like people think where it's like, hey, I'm into this or anything like that. She wasn't into it, but she understood it's a job.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable. One more topic and then I'm gonna let you go. Um, Dating within the industry. It's gotta be difficult to have a romantic relationship with somebody outside the industry, maybe even somebody in the industry. How has that worked out for you or other girls in the industry, or the guys in the industry?
You know what? There's a lot of girls, again, I won't name names, that are married. And the guys are fine with them doing, kind of hot wife things, and it's they're into it. They don't mind it. For me, that's not something I'm into. That's not my cup of tea at all. But these guys, and I don't begrudge them nothing. If you like the idea that your wife's out there getting fucked by multiple dudes, then that cool. You know what I'm saying? If that turns you on and you're cool with that, that's great. And more power to you. It's not something I'm into. As far as dating in the industry, that is tough because a lot of girls are, unless they're, wanting to just do one guy, which is what I ran into. Again, this was a fantasy come true,
Hmm.
and this is somebody that wanted to use my dick and my dick alone. So, and fortunately, I had the equipment to make that happen. And as far as dating somebody outside the industry, getting somebody as a guy, getting a girl to understand that you're going to be having sex with other girls, but honey, it's just a job, much harder than it is than if you're a girl,
I
in
see.
my experience, because most women aren't going to put up with that.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
not going to be into the idea that you're out there banging other chicks and you're going to come home to them and say, I love you.
Yeah. And you're exhausted and you don't want to have sex.
Fuck that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Well, I don't know, man. You must have a high test level, but at 49, I'm like, I kind of want to go to sleep. You know, it's got to be very difficult. I mean, I would even think it's difficult for women because I mean, I hear what you're saying, right? There are a lot of guys that are, beta type guys or guys that are into hot wifing. Hot wifing is basically just code for what's the other word?
Huck,
What is it?
Huck,
Cuck. Yeah.
cuckold.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is that's kind of how people think about it, but it's really not because
Not
it's a
really.
business. Yeah, they look at it as a business decision. He's not. It's not that he's over there fucking jacking off to the idea that his wife's getting fucked. It's that it really doesn't bother him.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother him because it's business. He understands that there's no emotional tie to it. There's no reason to be upset about it. And they're able to process that in a way that other guys can't.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
I, again, I can't do that. So my hat's off to them a little bit that they can do that. It's
Because here's what I'm thinking. If you're like an older guy like us, you know, maybe you could deal with it. But let's say you meet a girl who is in the industry and you're young enough where you want to have a family. How are you going to process that? How is
no,
this girl going to
no.
bear my children? How is this girl going
no.
to take my kids to school? How is this girl going to cook my kids? You know what I mean? Like,
For the most part, she's not. But here's the thing: is that I actually know a couple. They have kids. They take care of the kids. She's a hot wife. He's not beta. He's not a bitch boy.
yeah,
He you and you would get along with him. He's a great guy.
yeah,
But he's able to process
yeah,
what we're talking about in a way that it doesn't bother him because he understands it's a business,
yeah,
right? They have kids together. They take the kids to school. They do exactly what you're talking about.
right. But
You know
there's
what I'm
got to
saying?
be, I guess there's an exception to
It's
every
so
rule.
rare though.
You get
It's
right,
so
right,
rare,
right.
right? And it's not something you're just going to find. It's kind of like the whole thing with I met this woman on Match.com. That's just a one in a gazillion.
Right.
And it's the same thing. It's these two people that are specifically matched for each other that belong together so that they can do exactly what you're talking about, which is to have a family and still be able to do what they do. And there's a lot of money in what they do.
Mhm.
And I admire them for it and congratulations to them.
Yeah. I would also think the divorce rate's got to be high in that industry too.
From time to time, and that's the problem when you start. It's more so when you add the extra girls.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, it's not so much when the girl is just doing other guys, which is
That's amazing,
surprising.
isn't it? Yeah. That's unbelievable.
It's mainly when you add the other girls because the girl starts getting jealous.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's like, the guy's professional, the woman's professional, and then, maybe the wife or girlfriend just starts getting feelings that,
Yeah.
hey,
Just the most-
maybe there's something there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you don't, that's what you run into.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. DB, listen, it has been a pleasure and an honor interviewing. Fantastic,
Brad,
fantastic interview, man. I really appreciate you coming on and doing it, brother.
absolutely.
I will definitely be in touch. I'll let you know when the video comes out. I'm going to try to have it out as soon as possible. But truly, all the respect and all love to you. Thank you so much, and I'm glad you're doing. I'm glad you're on top and you're doing well, man. Really,
I really appreciate you having me on, man. It's been a real pleasure.
of course, brother. We'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah. Have a great day.
You too.